Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the December 20th, 2011 Waterboro Board of Selectmen's meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we have limited announcements according to my schedule here. It says happy holidays. So from the board, on behalf of the board, we extend our best wishes during this holiday season, including New Year's. But I also regret to inform you that of the untimely passing of Roger Chick on Monday. He passed away of a apparent heart attack. For those of you that had frequented Chick's Hardware down in South Waterboro, he was a fixture down there for many, many years. My condolences go out to his family. Are there any other announcements from other members of the board? Okay, seeing none, at this time I would like to turn the presentation over to the Waterboro Association of Businesses. They have something that they'd like to present this evening.
Hi, I'm Carrie DeAngelis, the president of the Waterboro Association of Businesses. This year we started a holiday lighting contest for all of Waterboro, and we're going to be giving out a trophy to the winner. And first we're going to show a slideshow of some of the nominees that we had this year.
Can somebody narrate what these locations are?
The first one's JD's Package Store. This was Beaver Dam Road. This was 548 New Dam Road. This one was off Victoria Lane. This one was Mountain View Drive. Over off by Woody's. What was the name of that road?
The Westbrook.
Oh, Ricker Lane.
Yeah. This was Silas Brown Road. This is the other side of Silas Brown, the same house. This was Old Alfred Road. And this one, which we ultimately voted as our winner, was Amy Lane. It's the Holdens. We had driven around and seen each of the locations, and we felt that this one had the most overall package design. Everything was decorated, wreaths in every window. The lights were really well laid out, and we felt it had a lot of time put into it. So there's a few images of that one. It's 51 Amy Lane, correct? They even had their birdhouse lit from inside with the greens all around it. It's really beautiful. So we have a trophy for the Holdens.
What do you give that to him? One of those deer, the lights were out on the back of that deer.
Yeah, that was from Nancy's father's house. When I inherited it, it stays with
So
me.
you get to keep this for a whole year and display it however you'd like. And next year, you'll pass it on to
Don?
the...
You want to get me
next
then?
year.
There you go.
Looks like a new
That-
mantle is coming up.
That makes a better picture, Don.
You're not supposed to drink out of it.
You want to bet?
Or
So
pee
we'll
in
get
it.
it engraved for you.
Might be.
Congratulations.
A funny thing did happen is this year I did something a little different where I outlined my entire driveway with lights on the ground. I thought it looked pretty cool. And then last night I walk out of the house about 8 o'clock and I hear this noise. I'm going, what the hell is that? I look up and I'm going, oh my God, he's going to try to land.
fundraiser for heating assistance. Since 2006, the Waterboro Association of Business has taken on the charge to try and help out with the heating assistance. This year, we did that again. We changed it up a little. We've always done a raffle. It's been hard to get the raffle to take off, so we decided to just go about it as asking our local businesses if they would put a donation in, all of our business owners that are in WAB. We think it was pretty successful this year. Last year, we raised $2,500. This year, we were able to raise $3,000. So that'll be going in. Since 2006, we've raised $20,000 for the fuel assistance account. I've got a check here that I'd like to present Nancy.
Very nice.
Very much. Thank you.
That's particularly nice this year because the government has cut back on their fuel assistance program to, New England, so there's a lot of folks that are, going to be in need of that. Is there any parting words from the Waterboro area businesses that'd like to?
Just that for next year, if everybody wants to step it up and get your lights done, we're going to do the same contest every year. And we hope to see more nominations next year as the word spreads, so. And Wednesday night, tomorrow night, we have a business after hours at Woody's Grill on West Road at 5:30. Everybody's welcome.
There are still jars out amongst the community for donations, so it doesn't end tonight. The need goes all winter long. And a lot of the businesses that did give money to this isn't the only thing they're donating. There's the Christmas that's going on in town, and there's other meals that are planned for people. So the business community is going well beyond just the $3,000 you see here. I know a lot of the companies in this community are giving out some tens of thousands of dollars in a year to their community. So shop local, take advantage of that. They do help out in the community a lot, the businesses. So they appreciate it when you shop for them, and they can turn it back over to the community members. That's it. Merry Christmas to everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Okay, the hearing of delegation. Is there anyone that has any business that'd like to bring before the board? Seeing none, we'll move along. We've had some correspondence from RHR Smith Company, a letter, and that's on what?
It's in your packet. It's on
Yeah.
the letter that you had requested.
Oh,
on
requested for the,
66,000.
okay. The MRWA Survey and cover letter, and I've been up north, so what's the?
That's the one from Steve Levy.
Okay, the Water District one. We have a Time Warner routine notice. We have the Treasurer's Weekly Financial Reports. And there's a Planning Board public hearing notice for December 21st at 7 p.m. If anyone's interested in any of that correspondence, they can contact the Town Administrator's Office. Move on now to reports. Is there anything to report from the Board of Selectmen? Yes.
Budget meetings for the county continue. We've had department heads of all come in and spoken. Last week, the committee started taking votes, individual departments. And after we looked at the budget as a whole, we felt that it was in the best interest to put some monies into the budget that the county commissioners had not, specifically to fund the sheriff's department and the district attorney's office. The county commissioners were trying to keep a flat budget. However, what that meant to most departments was a decrease because the cost of insurance has gone up so much. Tomorrow night, we're going to be meeting again and looking at, with the monies that we want to put into the budget? Are there other areas that we can take to offset that and make sure that we're not looking at an LD1 override? So that's tomorrow night, and then we'll continue. We have no meeting the following week because of Christmas, so we'll unfortunately be moving into January. We had kind of hoped to have had it done prior to the first of the year.
Now, Tammy, I might get things mixed up here, but did the county commissioners increase their own salary?
There is some request for raises with some of the department heads, and there are contract negotiations that are going on for other units, so there may be some cost of living raises for some of the union employees as well, but again, that's all in negotiations. So there are some pay increases built into the budget. There were 2 new positions that the county commissioners requested. One was for a part-time IT person. They have only one IT person that's currently taking care of the entire county government. They had lost a person back when they had the layoffs in 2008. So the part-time position is a start to try and bring up to where they were in the past. They've also added a position that they call special assistant, and Dick Brown is serving in that capacity. He's acting as a chief negotiator for the unions. He's helping the transition for the new county manager, as well as some other special projects. So, and then while those 2 positions are being added, they're looking at, the county commissioners recommended a layoff in deeds, 2 layoffs in the district attorney's office, and up to 3 layoffs in the sheriff's department. So that's where the budget committee didn't feel that the sheriff's department or the district attorney's office could absorb any more loss of personnel. They're still running short from 2008. And for them to have more loss of staff would be very detrimental to those departments.
Thank you.
Is it also true that they added another part-time position as well as an assistant to the county manager's secretary? Because that secretary is helping out the negotiator. So now they essentially hired 2 people.
That wasn't presented to us.
Okay.
So it could be something that they had already had in the budget last year.
I think that's a recent development, though.
It's not anything that they presented as a new
Okay.
position.
Maybe it's food for thought when
Yep.
the budget committee goes back. Because it was my understanding that when Mr. Brown was the county manager, that he also was the person that did the negotiating
Yes.
with the attorney. Now they have him doing it, and they still have a county manager. And from what I understand, the argument was that it would save on attorney costs.
That is the cost of the special assistant, what they've termed special assistant, is the person that's doing the negotiations. And the cost of that position is totally offset by the cut in the legal department. And what it was, the way that it was presented to the budget committee was that this person will be able to go into negotiations and will not always require the attorney to be there. So that's where the cost savings is. He's going to be able to go into some of these meetings without the county attorney.
Some of the meetings, because
Yes.
it's my understanding right now that there has been an attorney present
Yep.
in all the meetings conducted so far. So to me, as a taxpayer of the, York County, it seems like, we've got it in layers now of more money than, and yet they're laying off in other departments that,
Yep.
that are actually doing something. Okay.
I have something, Gordon.
Yes, David, go ahead.
There is a planning board meeting tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, and I'm not going to be able to make it, so if somebody on the board here could set in and appreciate it. It's going to be discussing the Napa site down there in East Waterboro.
I can't right now. I'm
I got a
already-
budget committee meeting.
I'll try to get up.
Out?
One of us will.
Okay,
Okay, thank you, John, thank you, Dennis.
thank you. You're welcome, Dave.
Too old. It'll be an O.
I know, okay. I'll teach you, rumba.
Anything else? John?
I emailed you all an idea here that I've checked out with Dave as a potential cameraman, and Nancy and Matt Boers. We had talked as selectmen and Nancy for administrative goals, and one of the things we wanted to do is have a monthly or bi-monthly fireside chat with the via television as to some of the issues that are going on. And my idea here would be start off with the fire department, but to do it with every department in town. And that is Waterboro, getting to know your town, and why, how, and what, how, and why, how it works, and doing kind of a show and tell. So with this is rather than just sitting down and talking to somebody, actually getting a tour, looking at equipment, looking at what happens as far as the fire department, fire and rescue, what happens if a rescue call comes in, who's responsible, what equipment is used, and so kind of a show and tell. And then that could be done with each department in the town. It would be a great way for people to tune in and get to know what their town is doing for them. So I guess that my question to the board would be, is that something you want to do in lieu of the fireside chat? First of all, just getting to know your town, or do it as a separate entity. I'm ready to in January put something together with fire and rescue, and then after that, if you guys want to do this, then maybe another select person can pick up another department in February or something like that and do a half-hour show and tell.
Yeah, David, for the selectmen, could do a Zumba tape. Zumba class.
I think it's a great idea, but instead of doing it as a fireside chat, I think it would be nice to do it as a whole package, and it's something that could, constantly be running throughout the year. Somebody that doesn't see it, refresh it in a couple of months or whatnot. So I think it's a great idea. It gets people to know what the different entities in town are, what they're responsible for, what they do. It's going to let them see it in a different light.
And you could do it kind of creatively too, rather than just sitting down and what do you do, is to go out and actually, if you're out in a road job or something like that, you're actually out there watching them, showing where the roads are and what do you got to do for it, and maybe how you do it. Same thing with the fire and rescue. Why do you have this equipment? How is it used? If a call comes in with a person that is having trouble breathing and has chest pains, who responds? How fast do they get there? What do they use? Double car automobile accident. What do you need for that? Structural fire. Anyway, so unless you all find a problem with that, I'd be ready to start working with Dave and putting something together in January.
Gordon,
Yes, Dave.
I like the idea. I never liked the name Fireside Chat, but I think that could be followed up too and tied in somehow. I think it still has merit of doing both.
I agree with you, Dave. I think we couldn't do both, because I think the informational thing that you're trying to get out is different.
Yeah.
One is more instructional, and the other is probably more contemporary, what the news is in the town, and you know,
what we're
that
trying
type
to
of
do
thing.
and
Yeah.
receiving ideas.
Good. Dennis?
I'm good.
You good? Okay. Anything further? Okay, I just have one other item. On behalf of the board, I'd like to extend a very happy birthday to Willis Lord, whose birthday is on December 25th, and we won't be meeting again between now and then, so we certainly have the best wishes and, you know, hope to have him around for many more birthdays.
93 years young this year.
93, and he still gets out to the different meetings and makes sure that he's heard. He's never been one, at least since I've known him, that's been a person that's shy about speaking his mind. So, okay, if there's nothing further from the board, the town administrator, her report.
Well, I'm glad Doug's here, because one of the things I wanted to discuss is the dam. Before I get him involved, I just want to say we have received budgets, and I'm putting them into the trio and into the budget sheets. And once that is done, we can start putting together the notebooks. I'm using the new forms this year, so there's a lot more input to put in. To get back to the dam, I had a discussion with Doug, and it seems to be like he was waiting for Whips to get a hold of him, and Whips saying they was waiting for Doug. You met with him and realized we had to have a crane. He had a crane all ready to go. But anyways, I guess one of the solutions we had discussed to repairing the gates would to lower the water level to the emergency level. You gotta remove I don't know how big the rocks, but Doug said there were some big rocks, so we'd have to remove them, build a wooden box around it, and kind of have a seal on it so it wouldn't hurt the concrete, and the pressure of the water would hold it. That way somebody can get down inside and get the gates out. The gates weigh, what did you say, between 500 and 700 pounds apiece? And Rips would come and pick up the gates, take them and repair them, and return them. Then we would have to put them back in place. I did contact them to see what the turnaround time would be, and it's 3 weeks. From when they pick it up till we get them back.
Now, what's the expense in all of this extra work, as far as the forms and stuff like that, Doug?
Well, David, I don't look at it as extra work. I don't know how they intended to take these gates off. I can't figure it out. There's no way that you can lower the water enough without dropping it to the emergency spillway to get down so you don't have pressure on the gates. And somehow over time, boulders roughly that size have either been thrown in there or washed in there right against the bottom of the gates so you can't get them off. I met with these people on 2 occasions. I met with their representative up there. Nancy arranged a meeting August, I guess it was. We met with them, and then again in late September, I met with them and told them that the water would start being drained down in October, and they said that they would contact us. I made arrangements to have a crane here to lift the gates out. It's too far for any piece of equipment that I have to reach out there, even with a long-reach wall it won't. And any of those, when they lift up, they go up in an arc. So you need something that has a direct lift and can swing laterally. So I looked it all over, and I don't see, without moving those rocks that are against the bottom, if you go up there and stand on the deck of the dam, you can see these rocks that are there.
Are they in the lake itself or inside the?
They're in the lake.
In the lake, okay.
The frames of these gates are on the outside of the dam. So, and now, Nancy got an email and forwarded it to me a while ago. The guy said that it's too cold, he won't put his crew in the water. He wanted us to put our crew in the water. Oh, you know, I guess.
His crew's out in California where it's warm.
We're tougher than they are or something. They expect us to get in that frigid water, so I had proposed that we build some, like I told Nancy, picture a cereal box, cut out the wide side of it, and put a rubber, something of a soft rubber seal on it, float it into place, and then open the gate a little and let the water against it, pull it in tight. And then if we had to, we could take a ram set and put a couple sets in it to hold it in place. But with these rocks, you can't do that because the rock's up above it. You've got to actually remove this stuff before you can get to the gates. And I'd be happy to take you, any one of you up there and show you. Maybe you've got a better idea, but I have, other than putting up a cofferdam for thousands of dollars, and I don't know how they expected to do it, but the guy indicated to me, when I talked to him, he did not say, but from his talk, he wasn't really all that anxious to come up here and take them off anyway. He said they do it sometimes, but, they're more interested in installing them when they're new in a dry hole than they are to come back and repair them later on. And I don't know, there's bolts sticking out through them. Hopefully they're stainless steel so that they haven't rusted. And because if they're rusted and you break them, then you're going to have another problem. So, I look at there being some small issues here.
John, do we have money enough in the budget for what we're talking here? What's been
I
appropriated?
think the regasking of the gates was a minor piece of it, right? That's really all we're gonna ask them to do. But I would agree with Doug, you gotta put, even if you, somehow put something around there, whether it's a half a well tile or half a, round septic tanks or something, and slide it down in there. Because you gotta build something so the water stops going through that gate.
And but the thing is, Dennis, it's got to have a bottom on it.
Right.
And it's got to be something that you can bring against the side of the gate. If we open the emergency spillway and lower the lake down, we should be pretty close to the bottom of the gates. Then maybe with insulated waders, we could get in there and, pretty quick, we're gonna have an ice problem.
Well, I was gonna say,
But
how much more does the lake have to go down to get this done?
How far is it down now, Don?
Well, that emergency check valve or spillway, whatever you want to call it, that's been open for 2 months. And both gates have been open. The lake's gone down about 1.5 feet, and she doesn't seem to want to go down anymore. There's so much water in the water table that it's just holding its own. The lake's down 1.5 feet right now, and I don't know if she's going to go down 2 feet. That's what we try to take.
It's gotta be
down.
another couple feet below that, right? To get to the bottom of that gate.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen. Even the years that we try to go to the lake an extra amount, every 5 years, and I open all 3 gates as they are right now, I still never make 3 feet. I've got it down 2 feet, 5 inches before. I've got it down 2 feet, maybe 6 inches, but that's the most I've ever, as long as I've been doing this for, 8 or 9 years, whatever it's been. But there's a lot of water in the water table. Gates are open, and that lake's down 1.5 feet, and she's just holding its own.
So maybe not even possible to do it now.
I didn't know that the emergency valve was open. Have you seen those rocks that are against the gate?
So why don't we, we're close to ice time here anyway. I'm not sure that anything is gonna change. If we can't get it down any lower with all those gates down, fixing the seals on the gates not gonna matter, right, at this point. And as soon as ice is out, I think we need to, and maybe we can come up with some sort of a plan this winter that says maybe we can slide something down in there, as Doug suggests, and pump or drain the water out when it gets in there. But you gotta, from what you're saying, you gotta be either beyond where those rocks are with it, or you gotta move the rocks to get something down there, right?
You gotta have some approach to get down below the bottom of the gate, because there's bolts right down to the bottom of the gate. You've actually gotta go a couple feet beyond it and have an area of 3 feet wide or something, so a man can stoop over down inside here to get these bottom bolts out. It's, you know, it may look to be, it was probably pretty easy when they had the cofferdam up there, and they just slung them into place and bolted them up. Today is a different story.
Who put the cofferdam in?
They don't check it.
Was it survey company?
And then they had problems with that, they had to get
Yeah.
pumps.
I think we, maybe it's some day here in the next couple of weeks with the weather hold, maybe a handful of us go up there and at least, not gonna do anything now, but maybe we can at least put together a plan of what we gotta do. And I don't know, maybe you could grab somebody like Charlie or Walt or somebody for a few hours to say, hey, if you guys have any grand ideas that would, on the cheap side, that we could build something to do this.
Really, a lot depends on Mother Nature. I've seen it in the springtime when all three gates are open, both sides gates and the check valve. And I've seen some heavy storms come up the coast, and I've seen the lake rise a foot with all the gates open. So, and then Hurricane Bob, when that came through, I saw the lake come up 17 inches and the gates were open. It's a lot of water. Those gates aren't real big, for the size of the lake that you've got behind it then.
I think anything you see, you build the seal off that gate, you're gonna be in the water for some time trying to make that thing fit on the bottom and fit on the sides, and doing that, and you gotta have a good dry suit.
Well, the one problem that I see is getting them off's the easy thing, in a way. But if you don't clean up where they're gonna mount back on, so that you've got a good seal around you can put all the gaskets you want in the gate, but if the steel doesn't go against the dam and you don't seal that up, you're gonna have a bigger leak than you started with. So once you get this thing, you gotta have some way to get in there and work on this to clean the face of either the iron that it bolts up to or the concrete that it bolts up to. So, I mean, there's gotta be some way to get down in there.
I think there are too many obstacles right now to try to do it, and do it correctly, just from a safety standpoint. There's got to be a significant amount of pressure from the lake onto that. And I just have thoughts of, a diver getting down there and having some type of malfunction, or now we're dealing with that issue, plus the cold water and the pressure and everything else. I just think that if we do it, we need to do it under optimum conditions.
It doesn't appear to me that this is an emergency.
No.
No.
I mean, it's something you ought to do maybe next year if it's drier. And the first thing you gotta do, if you're gonna do this, is send out a notice and say, okay, September 1, we're gonna lower the lake. Lower it down when the water temperature is warm enough, so you could get in there and work if you had to, in the water. You wait till October, November, and you got the elements working against you, and you've also got the fall rains.
One thing that would help too, and Doug pointed it out, is if you guys, all of you could meet with Doug or even myself and go down to the dam and take a look at just what we're talking about. When Doug talks about these boulders of the size of the gate or the pressure on the gates or whatever else, or how much water is actually going through those gates, it would do you all wise to just go down and get a visual so that you can relate to the conversation that Doug's putting out.
I guess that's the first thing we ought to do. Do that. I guess when ice goes out, but you're right, we're not struggling to keep water in the lake because the gaskets are leaking. But over time, it's gonna get fixed. Or the gates are gonna get ruined. The erosion of the water is gonna cause some damage.
Why can't WIPs say you need to do A, B, and C?
They're just a manufacturer of the gates. That's my read on them. I mean, the information that we've got, they're a manufacturing firm that makes gates, right? I'm not sure that they are, as Doug pointed out, I'm not sure that they're installation experts, other than when it's real dry I mean, you gotta remember that dam went in one piece, right, with a crane. So it was made by Superior Concrete. Maybe they got some bright idea of how to do it, right?
No, I already talked to them.
They don't have a bright idea?
No, they told me go get a hold of Whips.
There's no more.
Oh, they are?
They're still there, but they're owned by Oldcastle, and there's not a soul there that was there 10 years ago, and they don't do this type of business anymore. And I know, they do a lot of stuff, but I don't know that they do this.
But who is the contractor that we use? I know Sebago did the engineering work, but who is the contractor? Because we can pull that, all that information out, because
Off the top of my head.
I think they did oversee it, but Sebago doesn't do any work.
There's got to be somebody out there that can tell us what we need to do it proper, and to do it safe. I don't think any of us are qualified to be, saying, oh, it needs to be done this way. If somebody gets hurt,
Plenty
Heaven
of
forbid.
us that think we know what's.
right, well,
The most I've done is snorkel, so that's certainly not going to help. Anything further on that? Are you going to continue with your
Oh,
report?
that was basically the biggest one they had.
All right. Road Review Committee. Mr. Maycomber, if you please.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Road review is, we've been pretty busy over the summer, the last 2 to 3 months working on CIP. We spent a lot of time, we had a lot of special meetings, done a lot of surveying, worked hand in hand with the road commissioner on what needed to be done, only to be brought up that for the second year in a row, the road review committee was asked, why are we doing a CIP? Which, when we had our last meet, we kind of talked about it, and everybody on the committee agreed that having a workshop with the selectmen, the town administrator, and kind of point us in the direction that the board wants to go. Whether they want us to keep doing CIPs or turn it over to the road commissioner. Second of all was we started working on the questionable road list, and we've run into more obstacles on this project than we anticipated. And checking with some of the other things that we were doing, we decided that having the workshop, that would probably be a good place to start on what the board wants to do, and have the town attorney there to guide us in the right direction. Because we're getting some things from some people that say these roads shouldn't have been abandoned. You check with the courts, there's no records of them. And 2 of the letters that we've got from the town attorney kind of questions how it was done in the past. So as far as us moving on right now, it was the committee voted that we should kind of step back and wait until we have a workshop with the selectmen and see which direction they want to go in.
I agree, I think let's set something up and do it. We can keep talking about it.
Want to schedule that, Christine? Just do it, and then we'll notify you of the date. And
You want to have the attorney there too, or you want to wait till that?
I think we should have the attorney
try to
here.
get it all done at
at
once rather than piecemeal.
Yeah, because on the letter that we got from the attorney, the way we read it, or the way I read it, somebody else on the committee read it a different way. So you can go a couple different ways, and I think it would make it easier if he could speak with us and tell us exactly. We went back into some of the minutes. I mean, I spent hours upon hours on the computer going back into the minutes, back into, I think I went as far back as 1951, looking at some of this stuff, and it's very vague, what's in there. And one of the things that we're running across on some of these abandoned roads is the distance. It's like from the old Sugar Shack to the rock that sat on the side of the road with the orange X on it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, you can't find that?
And we can't find that X anymore. I think the weather washed it off or something. But one of the things we would like to do is, sometime probably in the spring, is to go out and measure all the roads. Because right now, some of the roads are in footage, some of it is in mileage. And I think if we could get a measurement on the road so we know where it starts to be abandoned or discontinued, to what point where it's public. It'd give us a lot, it'd make it a lot easier on everybody if we had, you know, the footage that we need. So I think if you could set up a workshop for us, we'd really appreciate it. Okay, thank you.
I have a question, Roger. Now, this gentleman's been here for over a month, asking about the Things Mill Road.
Yeah, he was at our meeting last week and we explained to him what was going on.
Okay.
So right now, we're waiting for the selectmen to see how they want to pursue this. That's why I say the sooner we can have this done and find out which roads are abandoned, which ones aren't. If you read it, sometime it'll say if the road hasn't been maintained in like 30 years. There's a bunch of roads out there that have been maintained every year that we're considered abandoned or discontinued roads.
Okay.
Perfect example. Chadman Ridge Road. We was in here just a while back with a request for a plow request to go in further. Within the last 2 months, that road has been graded and all the brush pushed back on it.
On whose authority?
Wasn't mine.
It wasn't
We
mine
we
either.
just made the recommendation, that's all we done.
Well, we also got, you know, I believe, a statement from the attorney that just because there's an occasional maintenance on a road that was a public way, doesn't constitute that the town has made conscious effort to maintain the road. So, I mean, that's in conflict with this age-old comment of, well, you know, if somebody went up there and sprinkled some gravel on the road out of a shovel, that quote-unquote, the town now owns the road again. I don't believe that that's true.
Well, I think if the road's been graded every year, then
But
that's a different story.
there's roads that are graded every year that you know, have no public easement on them. I mean, we raise money for seasonal roads.
I just sent Ken an email, so we'll bring him back tomorrow.
Mr. Fay.
I disagree with the attorney on these roads. You know, you got roads out here that you're gonna have to send fire equipment over. If you don't do something to them, how are you gonna prevent a fire? I don't think any attorney's got the right to come into this town and tell us what to do with the road. I think that's the vote of the people, not an attorney. That's just how I feel, and I've always felt that way. You're trying to shove roads down that you know you're gonna have to get over them with equipment. There's no question about it. If you have a fire, you've got to get to it. Right?
Well, I think we need a definition or at least a policy by the board here. I agree with Brad on, hey, you have to maintain some roads for safety or fire or whatever. But does that constitute a town road?
Well, that's the old, the argument of, is the town maintaining a road to ensure that there's public access over that road? And in some of these cases, I guess to Fred's point, all we're really concerned about is can we get a piece of fire equipment across the road? Should it be needed to get across the road? So I think there is a definition of how much, you know, when is a road, quote-unquote, being maintained and when isn't it being maintained?
I mean, we defined this, we've done this the last 4 or 5 years, and we defined it basically as the road commissioner and the fire chief make a determination as far as emergency use of opening a road or a work on a road, whether it be plowing but it took those two people to make that decision.
Well, I think you go back to, especially the
It had to be an
Chadwick
emergency.
Ridge Road that we talked about last week, I think when you were in here. This board wasn't these 5 people, but this Board of Selectmen, back a number of years ago, voted at the request of the Road Review Committee to discontinue certain portions of Chadwick Ridge Road. All right? Once that was done, there shouldn't have been any money expended on those roads, unless it was, in quote-unquote, for an emergency basis.
Mr. Fay?
I'm not saying you could win on these roads and spend hundreds of dollars in gravel and everything. If you run a grader over them, not just because I grade them, Doug's got a grader, he can grade them, you know, it's a fact of keeping them open for safety and get fire equipment over them. I'm not saying spend hundreds of thousands of dollars in gravel. I think Doug will agree with that.
When we have the workshop, could we also have the CEO there? I know that she's had a lot of time spent on the road issue and done some research, and I know that she's met with the Road Review Committee and gave them some thoughts on her feelings. So I think it would be very beneficial to have her at that meeting as well.
I think it's beneficial to have all the players, including past road commissioners that worked on various things, those that are still available. Excuse me?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think let's have the meeting, right? We can argue about the whys and wherefores and everything, but I think if we all get together and have the town attorney there, we come out of there with one direction anyway. Maybe we all don't agree with it, but we can come up with a consensus of this is where we're headed with it.
As far as the things Mills Road, we went back on that to the town meetings, and in 1997, it was voted to spend $10,000 on that road.
Right, and that was at the request of the Hickeys, right? And they came,
Aye.
they had,
Hickey is not on the discontinued part.
well, there was somebody that brought forward to the town, to the Board of Selectmen, a request to spend $10,000 on that road, and it went through town meeting. The following year, they requested additional funds, and it was defeated,
Right.
right? And I thought it was Mike that, or maybe it wasn't him, maybe
I
it
think it was
was,
defeated twice after that.
could have been. But I know that initially, and Fred's now walked out, but there was a request that they bought some old culverts and stuff from the town, or we gave them to them, I guess. But that's, now 15 years ago, right? 20 years ago. But
And the way I understand it, as Fred said, if the people in town want to open a road, want to spend money on the road, they can vote to do that.
Agreed.
I mean, they are the ultimate authority. Beyond that, we don't spend money on private roads unless it's deemed to be an emergency by the road commissioner and the fire chief, and then they let us know that they need to open a particular road, cut brush on it, or plow it. They can make that decision quickly, but we need to know about it. And, and that's it. They make the decision about emergency. They told those two people.
What constitutes an emergency.
Otherwise, no money is spent on private roads.
Usually it's a medical type issue, generally speaking.
If I was having a heart attack and it's, 2 feet of snow on the road because there's no plow, is that emergency?
yeah, that's typically what we've tried to look
So
at.
in other
is
words, I'd have to die first
in a
before-
storm basis or ice basis or something like that. If an emergency vehicle can't get down a road, that the town would ensure that it could get down that road. That's the intent of that vote.
I mean, the fire department also has a snow machine, and they have a sled that's totally enclosed, that they can go into a place and take an injured person out, or, so it can be done without having to bring an ambulance into a particular place.
But I still think there's a lot of confusion on a lot of roads. I agree with you, Rick. 'Cause I'll give you an example of the road that I live on, the McLucas Road. Now, it's kind of been filtered back to me that there's an opinion that the whole of the McLucas Road was a discontinued road. And I differ in that opinion because at the time, my father-in-law was the road commissioner, and he told me that the portion of the McLucas Road that was discontinued was right at where it intersects with the mountain road. From that portion there, out through to the middle road was discontinued, and that part of that agreement of the discontinuance is that the adjacent property owners would then own to the middle, the center of the road. But there was a caveat on that they had to keep that lane open. They couldn't block it off because it had to be open for a fire lane. Now, if anybody has been through from the mountain road over to the middle road, that section where the old Civil War cemetery is and stuff, you can't, be hard pressed to get through there. I mean, if it's snow covered, you can get through with a snow machine, and if you have a four-wheeler, you can go through, and probably if you had a high four-wheel drive truck, because there's some pretty good sized rocks in there, and it's never been maintained, yet on the other end of it, it has been maintained. Now, from the McLucas Road, from where my father-in-law's place was, up through to the last house, that's been graded every year, gravelled every year, plowed every year. I mean, that's been fully maintained. And I believe it's because of the towers. There's so much traffic that goes up to those, the towers, the fire tower when it was in full use, plus all the radio towers and everything else, that's why it was done that way. But I guess that's a difference of opinion with the road review committee. From what I understand, I haven't had a chance to talk with you personally about it, but is that the entire length of the McLucas Road was deemed abandoned.
Yeah.
So it's...
I know who you're talking about now, it's,
Well, and I think it's the, certainly the road review committee they don't have a bunch of lawyers on the committee either.
Yeah.
So I think let's have this meeting, we can all, well, it might be some, what do they usually call them, the latrine lawyers, but,
Or jailhouse lawyers.
yeah, but let's, I mean, there's a lot of things we need to talk out. Let's have a good session with,
because I know on the latest list that we got on town roads, there was like 32 questionable roads on there. And if you go down through the list and you start looking, it'll say, for example, one road will give the road name, and it'll say public 2.3 miles. And then when it shows abandoned, there's nothing. So where is it public and where isn't it public? Just like this gentleman here, when he went and bought his land, the realtor told him that was a public road. So he bought his land under the assumption that he was buying land on a public road. And his is one of the ones that's on the questionable list, and it says right on there, it shows how much is public, but nothing about how much is abandoned or where the public starts and stops.
well, that goes back to, there's no...
The rocks with the X on it's gone.
And there's no lawyers on the road review committee.
Right.
And most realtors aren't lawyers either. So they might have an opinion.
Right. That's why we think it'd be a good idea to be able to go out and measure all the roads and define what part is public and what part is supposedly abandoned. So I think the sooner we can have this meeting, the faster we can get working on what we should be working on instead of chasing our tails in a circle.
Scheduling permitting, we'll try to have it in the first half of January,
Okay.
between the 1st and the 15th.
Yeah, I sent him emails to Ken and told him he wanted it in January.
That'd be good.
And then I think when this is all done, if there's documents that we need to file with the Registry of Deeds and with the court and whatnot, we need to make sure that that
Gets
happens, so
done,
this
yeah.
doesn't
That's
come
what-
up again.
That's what we're finding. We're finding a lot of the stuff where it was voted on by the Board of Selectmen was never registered in the deeds. And that's where the letter that we got from the attorney, that's what he stated. There's no record of it.
In some sense, it may be a blessing in disguise that we can deal with all of them, once and for all, rather than, oh, well,
Nitpick.
we've got a question about this road or a question about that road. Just deal with them and, get it done and get it on record.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Road Commissioner. I almost didn't recognize you without your familiar T-shirt.
Well, it's the time of the year. Well, we got our budget in. We've been out doing a lot of ditching and repairs. I've had Dayton in, and they've done the patching. They've done Mass Road is, Mass Camp Road is the bridge has been paved. West Winds, the bridges up there has been paved. We've gone up to Blueberry Road and patched that a couple times and went into Pace Landing and did some repairs there, went down to Victory Circle and did some repairs there. These are places where cold patch wouldn't hold and we needed hot top, so they did it for us. And now the paving plants are all shut down, so we was up on Scooter Lane and took care of that drainage issue up there that's had the road flooded for some time. And now, if we can get the necessary paperwork signed, back some time ago we talked about inert and fill, and I asked Nancy to draw up a agreement that we could have when we put culverts in that released us of liability and gave us the owner's permission, released us from liability to the sense that we had the owner's permission to do the work. So we have that, and I need to get that signed, and then we'll do Logan Circle. Hopefully it won't freeze so hard we can't do it. But I've had a couple discussions already on that, and I think that we're going in the right direction. Put the budget in. I know they better call the ambulance when you all get the budget, because you're going to have heart attacks. I put in a budget that was realistic, but realistic doesn't always cut it. We've underfunded municipal government in this town for some years in favor of the elephant down on the West Road. The elephant with a long trunk that sucks up every dollar you got, seems to go into every crack and crevice there is to seek out every last penny. And they've done a good job at that. So now I think we're going to have to grow a trunk and try to suck up a few dollars for the town of Waterboro. And when it comes time to have our meetings with the Board of Selectmen and the Finance Committee, hopefully I will have facts that will back the request that I've put in. I did not put in for a salt sand shed, which we desperately need. We're polluting East Waterboro with a sand pile. We're costing the taxpayers a lot of money. We pile salt up. We get a rain. It washes the salt out of the sand. The sand then becomes unusable, so you push it off to the side, and then the next year you resalt it again, and then the next year you resalt it again, and you go down there and look at it, and some of that sand's about the color of David's coat. It's black. It's been there so long it's almost rotten. If it's possible for sand to rot, it's rotten. And it gets to be just goo. You can't spread it. We've done some business, as Gordon showed you pictures last week, I guess, so he told me, of the town garage. We've tried to get the area around the salt shed so that spilled salt can be picked up rather than just lie there to infiltrate into the ground and cause more pollution. We had the salt shed interior was about 4.5 inches lower than the ground outdoors, so every time it rained, the water kind of run in. And I had hoped that I could get some of you people down there before we filled it with salt, but I hope in the spring you'll go down there and look and see the damage that has been done to the structure of the walls because of the water laying in the salt. Dry salt will not eat concrete. You can keep dry salt on concrete for a long period of time. But when you put 6 inches of water in amongst the salt becomes diluted, hard to use, and it's eating right into the concrete walls. They're 12-inch walls, and it's eating in 4 to 5 inches in quite a few spots. So we built an asphalt mound in front of the doors, cut the doors off. We need to replace the doors on the salt shed. They're in terribly bad shape, terribly bad shape. the whole structure needs work. It's never been painted since the day it was built. You can throw a cow out through places, and, you know, we're getting rain in there that's unnecessary. So, you know, at some time we should go down there and look at that so that you can see what the problems we're facing. We're cleaning up the lower part of the pit. I got a report today from Nancy. I don't know if we know yet how much we're gonna get back from FEMA, but so far this year, my accounts have suffered a loss of $42,668.61.
How much have we identified as qualified? All of that?
Don't know. He called last week and we had put the tonnage in for the,
Brush.
for the brush, and he wanted the size, so Doug went down and measured. And he said he would plug that in and he would let us know how much we'd be receiving. I think that was Thursday? Thursday, I think it was.
So, I'm here to say to you again, you know, we don't get a surplus amount of money to begin with, and now we've taken all this money out of my budget, which has left a serious hole that we need to do something about, or not do something about. That's, you know, the question that I want to put forward to you people. I'd also like you to start thinking about, at the end of the year, if there's money left in any of the road accounts, rather than transfer it into the unappropriated surplus, that we start a fund, and that we put an article in the warrant that would request this money go into a special fund that only could be spent by the authorization of the Board of Selectmen at the request of the road commissioner. So that when we had these things come up, we start having some money. It's already been appropriated by the voters. It's there for road use, and we could have some money to offset storms, emergency storms that we have, where we're only going to get 60 or 70% of the 75% of the money back. We would not have to take 25% out of the current year's budget. We would have that money set aside to do that without having to go into the unappropriated surplus.
So an emergency road contingency fund.
Yeah.
It would be, so if we had a emergency such as we did on Derigo, and had to spend $25,000, we would have some money other than to take it out of a $50,000 budget. When you have a $50,000 budget, you take an unexpected 25 or 28,000, time we pay it, it'll be upwards of $30,000. You take that out of your account, you've made a tremendous hole in your operating budget. You've taken, you know, 60% of your operating budget and you've expended it. Since I put in the budget, and since we worked with the Road Review Committee, which we had some good meetings, we come up with a 3-year plan for CIP. I think they did an excellent job. But I had a beaver complaint on Jellison Road, and I went down there and had necessity to clean the culvert between the, I call it the bogs on both sides of the road. I don't know what anybody else calls it, but there's a 4-foot culvert in there, and there's nothing left of it. It's completely gone. The bottom is, there's at least 18 to 24 inches of the bottom of the culvert that's non-existent. It's sitting on the sides, and sooner or later it's going to collapse. It's going to have to be addressed. I did not have that in the budget for next year, but it's going to have to be addressed at some point. And, you know, this is what we're running into every time we turn around, is, you know, we need to complete our inventory of culverts, and we need to put a real number at what we want to set aside for money to replace these culverts. When you count the number of culverts we got in this town, and you'll find it'll run into the hundreds. And if you start figuring the cost of them, a driveway culvert right now costs us about what was that figure, Christina, today? 568?
Yes.
Just the driveway culvert's $568. That's the cost. When you have a $5,000 culvert budget, 10 driveways, and you're out of money. You're overexpended.
That's only for the cost of the culvert, that doesn't include the man hours?
That's the cost that it cost us to buy the culvert.
So we still have the man hours on top of that
Yeah,
for
and
installation?
plus the material cost. And
What
it's,
do you say driveway culvert, Doug? I mean, we're not putting culverts in driveways.
when there's a culvert put in a driveway, in your driveway, for your house, on a state road, you put the first one in, you put it in new. When that culvert has to be replaced, the state has to replace it. And it's the same with the town. That's why we're working on a culvert ordinance in this town, because people weren't putting in new culverts. They were putting in used culverts, junk culverts, pieces of crap culverts.
Not
and
doing the work right.
They didn't work right. They were putting it at the wrong elevation. A year later, they collapsed, and they'd say, well, I put a culvert in, now the law says you gotta replace it. No, not the way it ought to be. We need something that says that the culvert will be brand new. Not secondhand, not junk, not left over from, your neighbor's dooryard when he took it out and put in a new one.
Is there any distance between the road going down the driveway where it becomes just the property owner responsibility? Is there a distance on that?
Anything outside the right-of-way becomes the owner's responsibility. There are exceptions to that, but there's one on the Bimmy Woodson's driveway that the town has to maintain because the town required it be put in. It wasn't Bimmy's idea to put it in, it was additional drainage created by a subdivision, and they required that culvert to be installed.
So if there's drainage coming down the side of a town road, and I'm thinking of my own driveway,
Yeah,
coming down the hill, and it needs to go someplace, you get the driveway there, so you have a culvert under there. Now, at one point, if the culvert is pretty close to the town road, you say, okay, maybe it's the town's responsibility, but there's another need, you go down the driveway another 100 feet, and there's a need for another culvert, now you say, that's not going to affect the town road at all, and the town road doesn't affect that, the runoff is coming from a different place. So at what point is the town responsible, at what point is there, at 50 feet or something like that, some sort of...
generally, you go to the, if you got stone walls, you work within the borders of the stone walls, although it's never been proven whether the stone walls were put, the front of the stone wall was a property line or the back side of the stone wall was a property line. It's always been an issue to argue over. But generally speaking, the municipality has a 50-foot right-of-way. In this town, there's a lot of them that are 100 feet on the state roads. And the pole line road right out here varies in width. In some places it's 66, some it's 100, some it's less. But generally on municipal roads, you've got 50 feet. We've got some 33-foot roads. But anything within the bounds of the right-of-way
Okay.
is the town's. But up where you are, Cushman's Pond adds to the extra drainage you got there. When that overflows, John, you got a problem.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, there's certain parts that make sense to me. It's that, okay, this is my responsibility, but if it's coming down Chadwell Ridge Road, rushing down there and washing out the driveway, now it's the town's.
Town's responsibility.
Can we go to a different section here?
Yeah,
Does the winter stand up and salt?
yeah,
It's all taken care of?
yeah.
Okay.
Is the wildlife technician taking care of the beavers down there that caused
I've
that
called
problem?
Mr. Illa and requested him to make an appearance on the scene. They no longer can trap and release. They have to, he has special permits governed by the state, and he can go in, and when beaver become a problem, he can go in and trap and use the method prescribed at that particular time of the year. After a certain period, you can't do catch and release because the animal, if moved to a new location, wouldn't have time to put in its winter supply. So they use another method to take care of the problem.
So the animal doesn't starve to death.
Yes. It's,
Well, those beaver have been caught and released hundreds of times by Gordon Daney. Oh, yeah.
he went in there and took 7 out a while ago, and they weren't caught and released.
Yeah,
So
well,
they're gonna go in and,
but over the years,
Yeah.
he's been in there many, many.
there's a very nice house up the road a ways, up the stream a ways, and when somebody moves out, somebody else comes down floating along, and they find a hotel that's already for occupancies, so they
go,
move
"Hey,
right in.
This place is already built.
And they seem to expand their family quite rapidly. I mean, hey, we got a lot of room, let's expand. David, to answer your question, we went over there and I took the existing sand pile. I waited as long as I dared and used the sand that was there. I then went in with a dozer and a loader, and we took all that old sand that had turned black, and we pushed it all up into the front of the pile. Humped it up, resalted it, and used it. And when it got down, so we had a few hundred yards left, we put up our winter sand. We did it 2 weeks ago, I think 2 weeks ago. I did not put up 5,000 yards. It's very close to the end of December. We don't know how much more winter we're gonna get. Frankie Carroll's got 1 million yards of it. Dayton's got 1.5 million yards of it down there. It's available to us. But if we put up 5,000 yards in November and we end up using 1,500 or 2,000 yards of it, there's 3,000 yards of salt-treated material that's going to leach into the ground. So my goal was to use up as much of that pile as possible so that we had a very, very small pile left come spring. If we run low during the wintertime, we will take what steps are necessary to replenish our supply. But we're not gonna have a humongous pile there with the winter that has started out so far. It could turn, and if it turns and we need more, we have the money, we have the equipment, and we have the time to put up the necessary sand. But our pile is up, the salt shed is right to the door with salt. They had a boat come in. I told Nancy that, now's the time to fill the shed while there's some available. The way it's going, there'll probably be some available, but you don't know that. So, and the other thing that you'll notice when you look at the budget is that I increased the paving significantly. I upped it 100%, and I increased the brush cutting because we don't have any brush in this town. We have trees, massive trees, with roots running under the road that hold water and cause destruction to the road. You can't drain a road when you got a tree sucking the water up from several feet down and using a pipe to, and that's all a root is a pipe to suck that water up. And so we need to, on one job, in order to redo the road on Blueberry Road, I think, if I'm remembering right, there's 58 trees that have got to be taken down. And these trees are counting nothing smaller than a 10 or 12-inch tree. I think there's 58 of them that are in the right-of-way. That's just one road. Anything else? Can I go shopping? Ho, ho, ho?
Only if we're buying something good for us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Doug. Appreciate it. Moving on to new business, discuss and vote on the EMA plan. What is the pleasure of the board?
I'd make a motion that we accept the plan as it's written. Obviously, there's a little bit more work that's going to need to be done, but I think that that can be planned out by Nancy and the fire chief.
Yeah, I would second that. I think there's got to be some work done to it, but let's get something in place and move on.
Motion's been made and seconded to accept the plan as currently written with the understanding that there'll be further work done on it in the future. Although, is there any discussion?
I mean, should we just review what that plan entails so people are aware of
I
that?
don't know if it's much different than what we've had in the past, other than a restructuring of how it looks, so.
But it's under the auspices of the fire department now with the fire chief as the EMA director.
Certainly, if anybody's interested in it, the plan is in the packet.
Okay, and deputy EMA would be at the discretion of the fire chief / EMA director, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? The motion's carried. Under old business, the Water District Office space lease. What's the pleasure of the board on that?
Has that been shared with the?
No, no, this is
I
first
would-
draft for you.
I would
for
give-
the-
I'm fine with a draft enough to run it to the trustees and see where we go with it. I don't think it's radically different, but sure, certainly it's more costly, but I think, you know,
As long as
Another-
our costs are being
I
covered,
agree.
that's my concern.
and I don't
We
think
should-
that
we should-
there was, and I appreciate the fact that you included the LD in the packet, which created the water district. I didn't see anything in there that referred to $1 a year for anything. So,
So this is just an administrative function right now to transfer it back to the water district for them to look at?
Yep, I would think.
So we'll, Christina, if you could see that that could take place, ask them to, depending on what their meeting schedule is like, if you could ask them to respond back to us within 30 days, we'd appreciate it, so that this thing doesn't extend its life till the middle of next year before we get the,
And we've got one of the trustees here, so we can figure they've been notified. Right, Bob?
it's a lot of weight on your shoulders, Bob.
With a few more zeros.
Okay, Chair will
Can we
entertain a...
just before you jump onto that,
Okay.
somehow, some way, and Nancy, I guess I would look, maybe we could poke at this with, not necessarily go to Ken, but maybe some sort of informal discussion with an MMA lawyer or whatnot, since this was 1992 that this LD, and when you look through this, there's eminent domain rights and authority by the water district per this law. And I would think we'd want to have someone 20 years later lay their eyes on this and say, does this make sense for the municipality? Or should there be some
Bill change.
bill change? So,
Yeah, the MMA is a legislative committee. Any further discussion on that? Chair will entertain a motion to accept the warrants for bills and payroll.
So moved.
second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept the warrants for bills and payroll. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Pending decisions is the public service announcements, which we're continually trying to work on here now that we've got some equipment upgrades. Hopefully we can get those moving. Committee self-evaluations. As the road commissioner mentioned in his review, just continuing work on the Logan Circle issue with the water and the culverting there. Board and committee status. We have had the addition of one person to the 2020 committee and the zoning board of appeals. So we're slowly, and I mean slowly at a snail's pace, chipping away at getting some new committee members. So if there's anyone out there listening tonight, or anyone in our audience right now that thinks that they'd like to become involved in, the future of the community, please come in and see the town administrator or the administrative assistant, Christina, and grab yourself an application for one of the boards. I know that you'd mentioned that you wanted to know what boards were available. Did you get that information?
I still wait till, almost close to finishing the house.
Yeah, but did you get that information that you wanted? Okay, very good.
And New Year's is coming up, and a lot of times people like to make New Year's resolutions, and maybe a resolution somebody could make is to get more involved in their community, and what a better way to do that than to get involved in a town committee.
Start establishing some civic pride in the community, and we may be able to come up with an I Love Waterboro button. So I'm sure that Webb still has a bunch of those around. They had some at one
It was the
time.
Conservation Commission.
The Conservation
Yeah.
Committee? Okay. So they are available. Water District Survey.
As part of the Water District survey, that was in your packet, Bob, the Water District looked at it, and you said there was one change I wanted to make?
Well, we're just wondering if you guys had read it or not. I mean, and if you felt that it was okay.
That's what he gave us before, with the tweaks that we had asked for. He had given
I
it,
mean, did you get this
letter
survey in your package this week?
Yeah.
Did you read it? Are you
Yeah.
satisfied with it?
that's the survey that he gave us, that Mr. Levy gave us when he was back here, and we had read it then and made some suggestions then for some changes, and he took those changes that we asked for, and that's what he incorporated in there, so.
But last night, I mean, at our meeting, on number 14, I mean, it's down to $2,000, but we felt, I mean, that wasn't enough. I mean, so we voted to make it at least $5,000 if you guys agreed with it, of course. Because if you read this, I mean,
Yeah, the problem, the way that it's worded, it would lead one to believe that I have to
$2,000.
personally invest in a main extension, okay?
yeah.
To me, I think it could be worded a little better, because all of the participants would have to participate in the extension of a main, right? So, I mean, I think this gives you a line. It's $2,000. Most of them are gonna say no, all right? Maybe a few of them are gonna say yes.
Yeah.
You put it to 5, my guess is you lose all interest, but I'd be interested to see who's interested, rather than start to tweak the numbers to a point where no one's interested.
Yeah.
But we thought that you guys had, the $2,000 wasn't enough, so we voted to, if you guys don't agree with the 2,000, we said it should be at least 5.
I'm not sure that we have anything that would tell us what it is, so the 2,000 number is just an arbitrary number that gives us a feel for.
Yeah.
And it says could be more than.
Right.
It doesn't say
Oh,
it's
yeah.
going to be
Well,
up
that's
to,
just
or
it.
it's
I
going
mean,
to be 2,000.
Yeah,
Even
it
it could
Could be more
cost
than.
you more than
Yeah.
$2,000.
So
but Are they gonna read it's only gonna be 2,000?
I'd
which-
leave
I
it the
think
way
it
it
says
is.
more.
but that's-
So if it's sufficient to you fellas, I mean, with the selectmen, with the board, well, I mean, we go along with it too.
Well, I think it's sufficient, except for that $5,000 figure, if you guys change that.
Yeah, I'd put it back to the way
I'd
that
put it
Steve
back to the way
proposed
it
it.
was,
Yeah, so we'll leave it at 2,000 then, that's
Okay.
all.
So then we said that we would be willing to incur the cost of mailing that out and having the return sent to the town.
Yeah, I mean, how many people over in that area, 100 houses,
75, is it?
so.
At
talking
least that was
about-
my
Christina
understanding,
had
Even
it's
at double, we're
75.
talking about $80 worth of postage, right?
right, Christina?
The email that Mr. Levy sent with the revised survey, he's also asking the town to mail the surveys with a return postage paid envelope for the people to mail them back, so the town would pay the postage out and the postage back. And he's also asking that the town pay 50% of the cost of processing, which shouldn't be too much, is what he says in his email, but.
Why would the town do this? It's not our survey. It's a, you know.
I just wanted you to be aware
We're
he's
the ones that asked
expecting.
him to do the survey, John. We're the ones that asked him to come up with something, right?
I mean, we had the residents that all came in and they said to the Board of Selectmen, we have a problem and we want your help.
At 44
And so-
cents a stamp, it's gonna cost us $88 to send 100 of them out. I guess we can.
Is it 44 cents for the
Well,
town?
until it, yes.
Doesn't
until
the
it-
town get a,
No, Bob. That's, postal doesn't give anybody a break on stamps. So it's
If they do
40,
above a certain number, you can get a bulk mailing rate, but that's a
but it's
special
not
thing.
for 100.
Not for 100.
Well,
So,
I'm just
If we
thinking,
do it before the 22nd,
because I
they go up
know,
to 45 cents.
Now, is this just directed on Old Alfred Road? Is that,
Yes.
yes,
okay, so it's,
yeah, that's
okay.
just
okay.
for Old Alfred Road, right? It's not the whole
Okay,
town.
I didn't realize that
You're
wasn't,
thinking the whole town, yeah.
We've been a year trying to get this done, I don't,
Yeah.
it's not nickel diamond,
Yeah.
Get it done.
So even with the town paying half of whatever
I
his
guess,
processing
what,
fee is.
he made the comment, I think, the night that he was here, that it's a few $100 or something
Yeah.
to analyze. It's not 5, 6, I mean, somebody needs to tally the numbers on 100 things.
Yeah, it's not an exorbitant amount to get this done.
How many of these are gonna come back? Not even half.
Well, I doubt that
Well-
they're gonna sit at home steaming the stamps off to use for later. They're gonna put it in there and mail it back.
I mean, from the response that we had at some of the meetings, I bet we see a fair amount of them come back.
I think so.
I feel it'll only be about half.
Well, whatever it is.
Well, that's why
it'll
you're
be,
over there,
okay?
Bob, and we're over here.
Well, it'll
So-
cost us half as much
If you
to
don't get many
process.
of them back, that tells you something too. So,
Yep.
you know,
But, like the dump, I see everybody, and, some of these people have put in $15,000-$20,000 worth of pumps and, geez, boy. So good.
Okay. This will be our last meeting for the year 2011. We won't see you again. And I know you'll miss us terribly, but you won't see us again until the first week in January. And we'll certainly be looking forward to that. And what do we have for the next agenda in the following year? Anybody got any thing that they want to specifically see other than what Christina may have over there for follow-up? We're still awaiting on something from the Eagle Scout, correct?
Yeah, haven't heard anything, so.
Yeah, I think one of the things, and I did not get to the transfer station committee meeting last night, but one of the open questions that I think we, the board, have had for them is on this liability insurance. And now we have something from the attorney, or from MMA, relative to requiring liability insurance for a commercial hauler that uses our facility or just collects in the municipality. So I think we need to resurrect that to say, should we include in the licensing requirement, if you come into the transfer station hauling, it's a commercial hauler, should you have to prove or show that you have proof of insurance with them, so that the town knows that you've got a certificate of liability insurance. So if you drive go to back up to the hopper and you drive your truck in there, right? So we need to have that discussion, I guess. Now, we haven't heard, and I don't know what they did last night at the transfer station committee meeting, whether they made a recommendation or not, but at some point in time, we need to bring that back I mean, we own the ordinance, basically.
So their regular vehicle insurance does not cover them?
Well, they're a commercial entity,
Yeah.
right? We require it of our contractor,
Right.
D&E, right, that he has to have a certificate of insurance here, filed here for him to be a contractor for the town, right? Which also covers him as he brings stuff as a commercial hauler into the thing, into the transfer station. Should any commercial hauler have to have some proof or certificate of insurance registered with the town that says when you're coming in there with 2 ton, 3 ton of trash, all right, in a vehicle, and something happens, and you cover it. Now, the other argument is, well, anybody picking up in the municipality, even though they might be going directly to Eco Maine, should they be insured? My guess is for them to haul into Eco Maine, they have to have some proof of insurance before they'll let them cross the scales in them. So I'm not sure that that doesn't get taken care of at Eco Maine. Because it doesn't mean that all the waste out of town is going to Eco Maine, but.
Okay. One thing I'd like to put on the agenda for next time is to draft some rules for these commercial haulers with respect to their conduct at the transfer station. And I make specific reference to an incident that we had a week ago in which one of the parties that has occasion to haul commercially got into a verbal altercation with a citizen down there where it ultimately came to physical contact and required an intervention by the sheriff's office that subsequently led to an arrest. And I don't think that the citizens of this community need to be harassed, if that's the proper word, by commercial haulers down there who think that because they are a commercial hauler, that they have a right to tell the citizens of the community to get out of there. And then because...
It goes both ways.
Yeah, and it goes both ways. I mean, we shouldn't have the citizens, telling them where to go either. We need to have established rules for civility down there so that everybody's business can be conducted in an appropriate manner, and to show that we're not going to tolerate, that type of behavior. So I'd like to see that on the agenda for us.
We do have a process in place that there's measures that can be taken. They can lose their license or be suspended for 30 days.
Right. There is a,
Yep.
but maybe there should be a conduct expectation. That's, I'd like to, it's been certainly brought up, I don't think with this board, but we do not have a road name for the, where our public works garage is, if you want to call it a public works garage, and a salt shed. So I'd like to maybe put that on the agenda early January to name that road. It's got an unofficial name. It was always called the Gus Mill Road. That where the salt shed and stuff is, because he used to go out to salt. Haven't talked to road commissioner or anybody else, but we probably ought to name that road.
Is that something the road review committee is interested in participating in as well?
Sure.
Okay. So maybe we have that discussion when we have our workshop.
Have that on the agenda. Any other agenda items?
What do we have coming up? Shows through January 4th, but I thought we'd schedule some meetings beyond that. What do we have? Do you have a list of meetings the second, third week of?
There's something like the 25th, I'm not sure of the date, I don't have it written down that you're gonna have.
No, January. Yeah, there was
January.
You're gonna have a meeting.
Group
with
meeting.
all boards
Yeah.
and committees.
Yes.
And
Okay.
then the Zumba dancing lessons or something.
Yeah, that was coming in January.
That's the only thing I'm aware of.
Okay,
David, that
all right.
I'd like to see us schedule another public forum night to talk on the budget with some talking points. I know that we had indicated that we were going to do that. And,
Do you want that on the agenda to talk about?
yeah, we talked about it to set something up. Our committee meeting was on the 26th, I believe, at 5 o'clock. Is what I have in my calendar for January.
Okay, thank you.
Does anybody else have it on theirs for that date? Does that coincide with what you have, Christine?
That sounds right.
Okay.
I guess the only question I would have is for 5 PM, that might be challenging if you want everyone to come, for the people that are working.
I can't remember the context of the discussion we had, but I know that's the time we come up with, that we can always change it if we feel that that's not an appropriate time for everybody to make it.
What night is the 26th?
It's a Thursday night, Thursday.
Is 7 too late?
If we're gonna have all the committees here, 5 o'clock's not gonna work.
No.
All right.
7 o'clock?
It's gonna have to be 7,
All right.
or 6:30.
Because I think we talked about doing an hour early for all of the chairs and having just an hour-long workshop on running effective meetings, and then the second hour having all of the committees in and doing the right to know and
Could we
whatnot.
go 6 and 7? I mean,
Yeah, I think we wanted to do the chairs first
okay.
for an hour, and then the second half of it be all of the committee members. And it was, I think, we need to make sure that that's the date and time that we want, and we need to get those notices out, because we're making this mandatory. We need to give people more than a week's notice. We need to make sure, you know, preferably, I think those notices should go out this week if at all possible, so they've got a good month's notice that it's a mandatory meeting.
So just so I'm clear on what our talk, we're going to have the chairs in at 6, and then the other committee members at 7 for the full meeting.
Yep.
Is that the general consensus?
And could that be listed on the calendar that goes out for January too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we will now move into the upcoming events here. I have it. I don't have it on that. You gotta love it when it passes by so quickly. There we go.
You need a hard copy there, or?
There you go.
I think I'm gonna, because it just keeps
Yeah.
jumping from
Yeah.
page to page.
Nothing like
know.
paper, by God.
Gotta love technology when it works.
Paper
Okay.
and washing dishes, right?
Okay. When I get to the 2020 Master Plan Committee, you'll have to let me know, because there's a change on that already.
When it says 2020.
Yeah, that would be the tip-off, wouldn't it? Wednesday, December 21st, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., the York County Community Action Fuel Assistance appointments will be at the Town Hall, and you must have an appointment to participate. You can call 324-5762 to schedule an appointment, and that number can be found also on the town's website. Also on Wednesday, December 21st at 7 p.m., the Planning Board will meet at the Town Hall. On Saturday, December 24th at 8:30 a.m., the cribbage tournament will be held in the Old Town Hall. On Tuesday, September 27th, there will be no Selectmen's meeting that week. Monday, January 2nd, there will be no Charter Review Commission meeting. Tuesday, January 3rd, the Board of Selectmen will reconvene at 6 p.m. at the Town Hall. We'll be hearing reports from RSU 57. On Wednesday, January 4th at 6 PM, the 2020 Master Planning Committee will meet at Central Station. The notice says Old Town Hall, but that's incorrect. It will be held at Central Station. Also on Wednesday, January 4th at 7 PM, the Planning Board will meet at Town Hall. And with that, I wish everyone season's greetings and a Merry Christmas, and the board will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to adjourn. I doubt there's any discussion on that. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Good night.